All right. Hello and welcome back, everybody. I have a special guest today, Miss Laidee Jae. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
I'm so happy to have you here. We're doing a mental health awareness interview, and it is my humble pleasure to be able to have this chat with Miss Laidee Jae. But first, before we dive into it, I'd like to introduce myself for those that don't know me. And I just wanted to share that I am a mental health advocate and I have lived experience with mental illness, and I have loved ones with mental illness, and I have worked with mental illness. And I've learned the importance and the urgency of community and break it down. Common unity is the word community. And I've learned the importance of talking about mental health, mental illness, lived experiences, and ways out. And I've also learned a huge importance of seeking help. So I know now, I didn't know 10 years ago, but I know now that I'm not the only person living and struggling, or some may say suffering. And that's why I'm here now. And I'm happy to have Miss Laidee Jae here. So, Miss Laidee Jae, could you tell us what is your title? What do you do?
Well, let me just introduce myself. My name is Jamaria Laidee Jae Darden, and I'm unapologetically a whole vibe. I am a small town girl from Lynette, Alabama, striving to unapologetically make my own mark in this world on my own terms. And doing that, I feel like my purpose and my calling is to inspire people and encourage people and let people know that they're not alone. And I don't have, I guess my official title, I really don't have a title. I was placed on this earth, I believe, my purpose in this earth is to, be that encourager, be that cheerleader, be that light in dark places. Because so many people are struggling on the daily. And I feel as though it's part of I use my platform on social media to encourage and to inspire other people and let people know that, hey, we're all on this journey together. I love the common unity that you brought into that word community, because it is what it is. It's common unity, being that common ground that brings us together, because so many things in the world that divides us, and we need to bring that common unity back into it. So I love that.
Yes. I love it. All right. So, could you tell us about 5 things about yourself that you'd like us to know?
5 things about myself. So, like I said, I'm a small town girl from Lynette, Alabama. I was born in Chambers County, but Lynette is my hometown. That I will forever at my city. Love Lynette, Alabama. I'm a preacher's daughter. My dad's a pastor. So, and I love music. Music is a big, huge part of my life. I love to sing, but also I have loved going to see music shows, seeing bands, and all of that. And I have so many musician friends, having been in the music scene for so many years and everything. That's a big, huge part of my life. I am a huge cheerleader. I love cheering people on. I love encouraging people and making people laugh, making people smile. And I think lastly, but most importantly, I am not afraid to share my personal stories, my personal struggles. And I think that's what's great about having this interview, talking about mental health awareness and the importance of mental health, is being able to let others know that it's okay to not be okay. You're not alone in this at all.
I love, love, love it. And your voice is beautiful. I've heard some of your videos. Oh
Mhm.
my goodness, you go, girl.
Thank you.
All right, so here's a big question. There's no right or
Mhm.
wrong answer. This is just your
Mhm.
opinion.
Mhm.
What do you think mental health is?
Mental health. Mental health is health. And I feel like we need to emphasize that most importantly. We always talk about the importance of keeping our physical health and being physically in shape, but we tend to really not emphasize the importance of mental health, our brain and how we function and how we think, because it's not always the case. Mental health is so important, and we tend to put that on the wayside. We tend to put mental health on the wayside. It's about being mindful of our processes, mindful of being kind to our minds. Our minds deal with so much and we consume so much throughout our lives. And we don't realize a lot of the times that the things that we go through, the traumas that we go through in our life, has a big, huge toll on our mental health.
Well said. I love that answer. You're there with the mental health. You know how important it is, so
Mm-hmm.
that's good. My theory is where your mind is, your body follows.
There you go. It really is. It's the head. Our brains is the head of everything. Our thought
Yeah,
processes is the head of everything. Everything else tends to fall in place, starts the mind. And
yeah.
people tend to take that for granted. They really do.
So you had said that you think mental health is important, and my next question is, why do you think mental health is important?
Why do I think mental health is important? Well, mental health is our brain processes is a big part of our daily life. When you think about it, the way our mindset is, what we choose to consume on a daily basis, how we start off in the mornings is how the rest will fall into place. Most people don't really think about that. They just think they have the daily routine and we just go kind of lifelessly on a daily basis. But when you really think about it and really think about what you consume, it all starts within the mind first and foremost.
So, yeah, well described. It is really important, I think, and
Mm-hmm.
you think, so we agree on
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
So, walking, just in public, then you said you like to go to music festivals, you see
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of people there,
Mm-hmm.
and with knowing the fact that you're in like such a crowded setting
Mm-hmm.
in the world, with
Mm-hmm.
that in mind, how common do you think mental health is?
I think mental health is a lot more common than we think. I believe the last 10 to 15 years of really talking about the importance of mental health has made us realize how common it really is. Like,
Yeah.
if you think about each of us and our families and what we've been taught about mental health and the stigma behind it,
Yes.
the negative stigma behind it, I'm glad that we're now living in a time where people can talk more openly about mental health, because there's been such a negative stigma. Many of us, it's a cultural thing. It's definitely a
Yeah.
cultural thing and a generational thing. We've been taught to brush things under the rug, not talk about things like this. Things like this is supposed to be private. You're supposed to hold it all in, and you
Yeah.
can't do that. It's not possible. People have suffered in silence for so many years and have struggled for so many years, and people look down upon that, and you wonder why there have been issues with anxiety, issues with depression, suicide rates,
Whew.
post-traumatic stress disorder, bipolar disorder. You wonder why we have this stuff. It's because we have been taught to brush it under the rug and not publicly talk about this stuff, for fear, and because we've been placed with that fear of what other people will think. And I'm
Um,
glad that we're living in a time now that we can openly talk about it and realize, yeah, we have some commonalities. There are people who are struggling with mental health issues that may not have ever openly talked about it or have been encouraged to talk about it because they're seeing people like us who are not afraid to speak out about our personal mental health struggles. And it encourages them to say, hey, I'm not alone in this at all. And I
yes.
think what a time we're living in now. And we've come a long way.
Yeah,
We've
we
really come
have.
a long way.
It's been frowned upon, like you said, it's a generational thing, and people were raised to be ashamed of it. Like
Yeah.
it's an embarrassment either to self or to the family. And
Mm-hmm.
if you look back way back in the day, they would lock people away that had autism because they didn't understand it.
Exactly.
Or even women with PMS, they would put
Mm-hmm.
them in a mental
So
asylum.
yeah, because it's the lack of education, the lack of resources, not really taking the time to understand why it is what it is. And it became such a generational thing. It started with our grandparents, our great grandparents, and it goes down from generation to generation. And I'm glad we're in a generation now with people our age and even slightly older, the Gen X, millennials, Gen Z, we're more vocal about this than
Yes.
our baby boomers and boomer parents and grandparents. So I think we're in a time now where they're starting to kind of understand, saying, hey, you know, okay, I get it now. But it's a gradual thing. It's not going to happen overnight. We still have a ways to go
Yeah.
to completely remove the stigma of mental health.
And it starts with us.
It really does start with us.
Well, that kind of answered my question. The next one, why do you think there's such a stigma about mental health or mental illness? It was cultural, generational things that we brought in our genetics
Yeah.
with us. So, well, the last question is, how do you think we as a community can help those who are living in silence and suffering by themselves?
Being more compassionate, being more empathetic. We now live in a time where if it doesn't affect us, we don't care about it.
Yeah.
And that's sad, because if you continue to live like that, realizing that there are people around you who are suffering in silence and struggling with things, you have to have some level of care. You have to have some level of compassion, some level of empathy, and you may not know the right things to say to that person, but be a listening post.
Yes.
Be a listening post so that they can be able to reach out, you know, because that post that I posted the other day, you know, about being able to have an ability to reach out when you know you have people that you can reach out to, but sometimes you struggle with it because
Yes.
you don't want to feel like a burden.
Exactly.
And that's part of the stigma, is because that's part of the, and that's also part of the stigma that we've been taught about mental health is, oh, you're being a burden to other people. You mentally think that, and you've been mentally told that too. And that's a big, huge thing, you know, with that. So I feel as though the best way that we can really put mental health in the forefront is to be more compassionate, be more empathetic to each other, being able to listen to each other. You know, if somebody's reaching out to you and they're struggling, and that's the thing, you know, and I say this speaking upon my personal experiences, you know, I have been very, very open about my personal struggles, especially every month for the last 25 months. On the 29th of every month, I kind of make that little victory celebration. May 29th, 2020 was the last time that I committed suicide. I've been dealing with suicide attempts from the time I was 16 to the time I was 37. I was 37 at the time, the last time I attempted suicide. And I'm openly talking about it to people. When I turned 39 this year, I did 2 birthday fundraisers, one for the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention and National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, which they just recently changed. As of this Saturday, it'll be 988.
Yes.
800-273-TALK is now going to be 988, which I think that's amazing.
Yes.
That's so amazing to have a similar kind of like a 911 number that people can dial out to and be able to quickly get to somebody that they can talk to. I think that's a big win for the mental health community. That's a huge win. And that, especially for those who are dealing with suicidal thoughts, suicide prevention. I am a huge big advocate on that because of my personal experiences with having attempted suicide. And it's crazy. People will look at me as like, how can a person like you have suicidal thoughts? You look like you're the most bubbliest person and have a smile on your face all the time, positive thinking. And I'm just like, it can happen to anybody.
Yes.
And those are the people that you need to look out for. Check on your strong friends. Check on the people that look like they have it all together and they really don't. And they're struggling and they're hiding things in and suffering in silence. That's who you need to look out for. I mean, when you think about all the people that have, when you see in the news, celebrities that have died of suicide, it's just like, wow, you never know.
Yeah.
You really never know. And that's why I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I'm not ashamed to bring it up. And when I talk about it every month on the 29th, I will still continue victories and wins. Because even though it's been 25 months, it's a fight.
It is.
It's a fight, and you have to keep fighting. You have to keep pushing, because every day is not going to be a great day.
Right.
When you're dealing with mental issues, when you're dealing with anxiety and depression, and you have these history of suicidal thoughts and bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, PTSD, every day is a fight to make sure that you are still here.
Yes.
Fight. It's a battle. It's a battle. You have to keep pushing. You have to keep going. And it's important when you're in that moment to have a good support system of people that
Yes.
you can reach out to and that you can talk to, but also not be afraid to talk about it. Because being able to talk about it to others, to me, that's therapy to me.
Yes.
It's therapeutic to me, because if I can help somebody by sharing my story,
Yes.
then it can help them, and it's a domino effect. I want it to be a domino effect. I want to get us to a point now where mental health, there's no negative stigma, that we can openly talk about mental health just like we openly talk about the importance of our physical health. I just want for that to have the same respect, and it's going to get there. We're getting there. It's in due time. I think we're going to 100% completely get there. We're not there yet.
And
we're not there yet.
Some of the things you were saying, check on your strong people. Even strong people need strong people.
Yes.
And we're so good at putting that fake face on and faking it. Like we're okay. How are you? Oh, I'm fine. How are you? And we're dying inside.
We're dying inside.
We're drowning.
We're drowning, and we're
there's
bottling
patterns. If you know somebody well enough, it doesn't have to be family, it could be friends, somebody that you care for, you know them. And sometimes, like you said, just the word awareness, just being aware of a change in their pattern or a look in their eyes when you ask the question, or if they're sleeping more, if they're eating more, sleeping less, drug or alcohol has taken place, or it's already occurring and it's picked up. Those are all warning signs that they're not okay. And part of mental health awareness is just being aware of those signs. And as you said, listening, approach them, and don't. I've heard some of the most awful things about mental health, things like people choose to be depressed, and I mean those are just coming from ignorant minded people who have been blessed to not have to battle and live that daily life or that daily struggle. It's a blessing. But to approach somebody, hey, I've noticed that you're not acting like your normal self. What can I do to help you?
Yeah.
Or just approach them however your relationship is. I feel like I'm stuttering and repeating myself, but non-judgmentally. That's the biggest thing.
Judgment-free conversation is so important.
Yeah.
It's so important when you're trying to reach out to somebody.
There's enough of that in the world.
Because there's enough of that in the world. And then when you see these posts or news about people who have committed suicide, and those same people who have made those comments, they're grieving, wondering, what could I have done then? I was like, it's too late then to think about it.
Yeah.
When your friend or your family member or whoever it is was going through and literally having a cry for help, take it seriously.
Yes, it's
pay attention. It's pay attention. It's not, and that's another thing that adds to the negative stigma.
Yes.
Is people say that you're doing it for attention.
That judgment.
It hurts.
Oh,
and especially when it
gosh.
comes from friends and family, and you notice these things. They may not say it to you directly, but you notice in posts that they may have posted on social media, or things they may have just said, and it puts in your mind, it makes a person want to just close in, like, okay, I don't want to talk about it. Then why should I? Yeah,
exactly. And that's part of the stigma there, the judgment. I'm really thankful that NAMI.org has amazing resources, NAMI.org, and they actually do have classes that they can you can participate. It's totally free, and it enlightens people that have family members that are living with mental illness. It enlightens and guides others that are living with it to set goals for themselves to, work it out. For
Yeah.
example, if you're struggling with anxiety and is out of control and you don't know what to do, some of them encourage you to go back in time to a place where you had anxiety. What helped you then? And
Hmm.
try that technique now. Things of that nature. There's good
Yeah.
they have it for the home front, for, police and military families.
Hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
just, teenagers. They're
Hmm.
bringing it to the schools. It's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing things are happening, and I was part of the vote and the push for that 988 myself.
Hmm.
Being a mental health advocate is more than just talking about it, but talking
Mm-mm.
about it is amazing. But
Yeah.
voting and pushing for bills to be passed to protect or better coverage or,
Hmm. We still have a long ways to go
yes.
with the resources and the availability of these resources. I noticed people that are struggling with finding a therapist
Yes, it's
in
so
their area
expensive.
because it's expensive. While we do have little minor resources that may have been less costly or free out there, sometimes for some people they need a licensed therapist to talk to because their mental health issue is very severe. And
Yeah.
that's something that we kind of have to get through these have the ability to have these therapists, and then having insurance not being able to cover it. That's a struggle for some.
Yes,
And that's some for years.
for years, that was my whole setback because I didn't know really what was going on. I felt like I was losing my mind. My husband didn't understand, and that drove a wedge between us, but he has come a long way, let me tell
That's
you.
good.
I am so proud of him. He's he taught me that love and patience can get me through anything. And he's been there by my side through the good, the bad, and the ugly. But it is expensive. And let me go back to being aware. Um, if you want to listen to somebody, that is just fine. We can listen as a peer. And sometimes they're not open for advice. They just
Hmm.
need to dump to get it out.
Yeah.
And I've learned myself when I need to just get it out, sometimes hearing my own words, I'm like, oh, it makes sense. Okay. I've been in this position before. Let me do what I know works. I've never had a suicide attempt, but I have had suicidal ideation, and that is a scary place to be. Those
It
thoughts are
is.
scary, and it's nothing to be proud of, but it's nothing to be ashamed of either. My therapist explained my ideation very simply, and it's my body is going through so much stress that it's my brain's way of coping with it. I would never act on it, but that's me myself. There are
Hmm.
those out there with, you know, those not impulses, I guess you could call it that, but to where pain in life is just it's too much.
Yeah.
And they're looking for answers. There's no answers. They're confused, they're lost, they're drowning, and it's just a means to an end. But recovery is possible. Do you agree?
I agree. I agree 100%.
I figured you would. You are an amazing lady. Beautiful smile,
Oh,
beautiful singing voice, and I love your heart. And
thank you.
I'm so happy to just sit down and have this conversation with you. And I pray that it touches somebody. Is there anything else that you would like to add before we end our wonderful interview?
Keep pushing, keep going. We're all in this journey together. If you're going through it and struggling through it, I'm right here with you. We're all right here with you. There's more common with us than we all realize. And
Yeah.
bringing that community together is what's going to help us through and push through and bringing mental health awareness to the forefront. Know that
Yes.
it's okay to not be okay, but also know that it's going to get better.
Yes, it won't last forever. I love it. Thank you so much, Laidee Jae. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. Such a pleasure.
Bye bye.